Appreciate you being here today. Today we're introducing Senate Bill 114. I'll be joined by my colleagues from the House, Representative Sweeney and Representative Miller. This bill has been brought to us by members of the FOP, representatives of the OPBA, regarding quotas on traffic tickets. Clearly, we want to make sure that the public is safe. We want to make sure that all the traffic laws are upheld. So this is not by any means an attempt to try to discourage our officers, from performing that very important task. However, law enforcement officers already have the difficult task of keeping us all safe and should really not be saddled with the additional and unreasonable burden of generating revenue for the bureaucracies they serve. Quotas make officers' jobs even harder by undermining public trust in law enforcement. Filling quotas also encourage unnecessary encounters between the public and the officers, further hindering our primary goal of maintaining public safety. And in short, the officers, the men and women that serve us in the law enforcement field, traffic enforcement is one of many, many responsibilities that they have. So to put an unburden or an emphasis and thus a burden on them to focus on a particular aspect and potentially ignore some more important crimes is essential. And the other thing I'd want to point out from a family standpoint, my dad was a Cleveland police detective, my older brother, I had 4 nephews, and then of course my only son. And I remember when my son got out of the police academy, his grandfather and his godfather said, always remember the most difficult job you're going to have are traffic stops. And when you go to a traffic stop, you make sure you see everybody's hands in the front seat, back seat, whoever you're going up to. So these can be very dangerous. There's an awful lot of bad stuff that happens. But at this time, it's my great pleasure to introduce my colleague from Cuyahoga County, Representative Bride Rose Sweeney. Representative Sweeney, please.
Well, good morning, everyone. I am State Representative Bride Rose Sweeney, and I truly want to thank Senator Patton and Representative Miller for joining this effort that has been around for at least the past 6 years. Out of any bill I've worked on, I can say without a doubt that this is a bill that I've seen some of the most broad support from the general public, from organizations of the law enforcement themselves, from criminal justice reform-minded groups of people, but unfortunately we have not seen that same energy behind passing this bill, and it is our goal to once and for all stop the arbitrary quotas for arrest and ticket quotas. The fact of the matter is, in Ohio, it is completely legal for us to mandate a police officer to go out every single day on a taxpayer dime to produce 10, 20 tickets. It is currently legal to subjugate law enforcement to nothing more than revenue generators for our city. This is wrong, and this is what we are trying to stop. At its core, this bill is about public safety. Law enforcement job is to protect and to serve our community. They can't do that if they are expected to meet arbitrary quotas that do not reflect the safety needs of the communities that they are serving. We have heard from law enforcement professionals of all ranks. Ticket and arrest quotas are bad policy and encourage bad policing. Police officers are not revenue generators to be leveraged when a city's budget gets tight. This practice is not just bad for law enforcement, it's bad for our residents who can get caught up in the criminal justice system, it is bad for our community, and it's bad for our police. In the House, we have dropped House Bill 131, which is a companion bill to the Senate bill, to encourage quality policing over quantity of tickets produced. And that is what we should all want our law enforcement officers to do, to be evaluated on their ability to protect and serve, not how much tickets and money they can generate for their cities. Banning quotas will also help and preserve the public trust between law enforcement and the general communities. When the public believes that police officers are writing tickets based on a need to meet a weekly quota, then a desire to keep them safe, it undermines the public trust in law enforcement. House Bill 131 ensures that police officers have the professional discretion to make arrests or write a ticket in the interest of public safety, so that when a driver deserves a ticket, they know it's because it's in the name of public safety and no other means. I know that we've all heard this for years. If you generally poll the general public, when they get a ticket, that is in the back of the mind. And if we do not eliminate this on our books, it continues to erode that public trust. And I do not want to over-demonize our cities. We have many good actors, and many who may be in the predicament of feeling pressure to encourage our police officers to generate revenue are likely doing so because they feel forced to, because of possible constraints on the state level or the realities of inflation. I understand the needs of our cities, but it is wrong for any city or any community to balance their books on the back of Ohioans by issuing tickets. That is what we're stopping, and it is our hope that it is this General Assembly, we're gonna finally make this practice illegal, where we've not had any organization fully come out and support. We're gonna continue to work with anyone, but through the entire time I've been working on this bill, I have never once had anyone justify the need for arrest or ticket quota. And if we've had no one demand that that's what we should have on the books, and we should change that. And with that, I do want to turn it over to Representative Miller to give his thoughts.
Thank you so much. I'm State Representative Kevin Miller. I represent the 69th District, which is portions of Licking, Perry, and Fairfield counties. And what I'll say is I bring a unique perspective to this bill. As many of you know, I retired from the State Highway Patrol. And what I will tell you, one of the biggest things for me with this bill is the notion that our law enforcement officers that protect and serve us each and every day are being used as revenue generators, and that's wrong. That's why I'm supportive of this bill. That's why we're continuing to push this bill forward in this General Assembly. So, as you know, as I stated, I was with the Highway Patrol. I served at the trooper level, the road level, as a shift supervisor, and also as a post commander. Now, I'm a little biased, but I will say that the Ohio State Highway Patrol, in my opinion, is probably one of the most proactive law enforcement agencies in the state. A lot of traffic stops. That's what our folks do. They go out, they stop cars, they get people to slow down, they prevent distracted driving, things of that nature. What you probably don't know, though, is that ticket quotas are prohibited by the collective bargaining agreement for our troopers. So I ask you, if the Ohio State Highway Patrol, who is, I said, is arguably the most proactive law enforcement agency, can operate under those circumstances, why cannot every other jurisdiction? It's very simple. When we need to issue a citation, we will issue you a citation. When we need to issue you a warning, or we think a warning will suffice, we'll issue you a warning. That discretion should lie with our officers, not some arbitrary number that someone pulled out of the air and said you have to issue X amount of citations. At the end of the day, when you drive by a motorist that's stopped by our law enforcement, do you know whether they're receiving a citation or warning? We don't. My thoughts are we need to end this practice and look forward to working with my colleagues to get these bills across the finish line. And I'd like to introduce George Sakalakis from the OPBA for some comments.
Thank you, Representative. My name is George Sakalakis. I'm the Director of Organization with the Ohio Patrolmen's Benevolent Association. We're an organization of about 8,000 members, including sheriff's deputies, city, village, township police officers, and other law enforcement officers who would be subject to enforcing a ticket quota. I want to commend Representative Bride Sweeney, Representative Kevin Miller, and Senator Tom Patton for working to prohibit ticket and arrest quotas and avoid unnecessary conflict between law enforcement officers and the people that we proudly serve. Myself being in my 24th year of law enforcement, I truly do appreciate this. When agencies arbitrarily dictate a certain number of arrests or citations that an officer must issue to keep their job, the trust between the public and the law enforcement, as well as the very nature of constitutional, respectful policing and due process, is needlessly tested. Ohioans must be assured that every arrest or citation issued is valid, legitimate, and necessary. Ticket and arrest quotas are based on one thing: revenue. They're not in any logical way connected to safety. On the contrary, they pull law enforcement officers away from addressing neighborhood priorities and put them into places like a remote stop sign, a less traveled speed trap. I hate to call it that, but we all know it's true. And write tickets and issue citations that really do the public no good. It's a complete waste of their time. The high level of training and the scant resources of the community through their police officers is totally squandered when that happens. When they're focused on strict, quantitative, numbers-based enforcement, morale plummets. I don't know of an agency that has ticket quotas, and believe me, they're out there, where officers are happy. The officers that work there, they hate their jobs, they leave, and they don't go there in the first place. Today's police officers, both the younger generation that we're working so hard to recruit, as well as the veteran officers that we struggle to maintain and retain and keep on the job, they detest quotas. They enter this profession to be close with their communities. That's what police officers say time and time again in studies as to why they became police officers, why they remain police officers. Always ranking at the top of that list is that they want to be close with their communities. Ohio's police officers, sheriffs, deputies, and troopers are true professionals who risk their lives to serve our communities. They're not revenue generators. They got into this business to protect our neighborhoods, not to occupy them. So we at the OPBA, we're very, very thankful that the legislature is tackling this issue, and we urge passage of House Bill 131 and Senate Bill 114 to end the practice of quotas in Ohio. Thank you. I'll introduce my counterpart at the FOP Lodge 9, Brian Steele.
Thank you, George. I'm Brian Steele. I represent FOP of Ohio. I'm also the president of Capital City Lodge 9, the largest fraternal order of police local in the state of Ohio. I stand shoulder to shoulder, the FOP and the OPBA, two of the largest, most professional law enforcement organizations. We're going to support this bill. Thank you for our Senate. Thank you for our representatives also. The OPBA and the FOP, we call out corruption in our ranks, whether it's an officer or a police chief. If you engage in this ticket practice, which we know happens, it happens in my lodge, and we're going to continue to call out those rogue police chiefs. I cannot find one single police chief, one single police officer, deputy sheriff, or sheriff that actually opposes this. Anybody that does oppose this under the guise of we're going to try to keep you safe and this limits it, it's complete snake oil. Once again, thank you again for our representative, thank you for our senator, and for my brothers and sisters OPBA.
We'll take a couple questions. Jerry, you want to start?
Yeah, this is already kind of illegal, and as you said, it's on a contract with the Highway Patrol. But we continually see police departments doing, having like areas of enforcement. And they'll say, well, we need to enforce in this area because if we don't, there's going to be more traffic crashes. There's going to be more of this and that. Someone want to speak to that?
Sure, I'll take that. And Brian or George can jump in. So this bill does not prohibit
Police chiefs or police executives from directing resources to areas that need them. If they're having issues in an area, they can certainly send officers to that area to work the area to increase public safety. What our bill does is says you can't mandate a certain amount of tickets written. Because my question would be, where's your data that says if you write 10 citations in this area versus make 10 traffic stops, it's just an arbitrary number. So what we're saying is that discretion needs to lie with the police officer when they make that traffic stop.
If I can just add, currently, as the practice exists, and you're talking to a particular hotspot that they want to hit, and they should obviously be, but what this bill will do, it'll create a reporting system for the officers to report the unlawful use, as we say we know exists, to the Attorney General's office, and that would then require the Attorney General's office to conduct an investigation. So that's the ability to, instead of who do you complain to, now we put it in line, then the Attorney General has the legal and lawful authority and mandate to go in and investigate that. So again, as I say, I had a relative who, there was 10 tickets a day. If they were walking the beat, it was a whole book of parking tickets a day. And that went on for years. And so it does, you know, as I think the gentleman that, you know, speak to it best, there's three, you know, law enforcement folks up here, so far be it from me to say it, but I do think that this is a bill that, as I said, Representative Sweeney has worked on so very, very hard, and I really think that this is good for the public. I think it's a good policy bill, and I think it's good for the people of the state of Ohio.
So what's going to be different this General Assembly? It's failed to get across the finish line in the past. What's going to change this time around?
Thank you for the question. I think, one, we now have a partner in the Senate, so we're making the strategy to run two bills at the same time. There's a lot of issues we're always dealing with at the state, and I can say that last year we did get a vote out of committee. We just ran out of time through lame duck, and it was not our understanding that it didn't get over the finish line for any other reason because of other priorities happening. And so having a partner in the Senate with Senator Patton, as soon as we start educating other members in the House and Representatives, they get excited, they want to be a part of this. Every time this is in the media, I get a flood of responses from people all across the state. And our call to those listening or those reading your papers is to contact your House and senators, no matter where they're from, and tell them about this bill and tell them that you support this if you do. Again, we've not had anyone from the general public say they don't want this, and if people start hearing, I think we can get it done, but I am confident that we're going to get more traction this year because we got pretty far last year, and if the Senate gets it done before us, that's going to be the vehicle, and we're going to try to get that done even if it's not the House bill.
Thank you, everyone. We'll let the next press conference get set up. Appreciate your time.
Everybody, thank you.